this reminds me of something. In my sessions, usually we don't ride the horse, so we
Yes.
put everything on the ground. It's a very equal relationship where it's like we are kind of, it's a respectful way of being with a horse. Like, I always had this love and hate relationship with riding a horse.
This is the type of coaching they need,
Yeah.
essentially. They don't need any other type. This is actually the fundamental.
Welcome to The Search for Wellness, a podcast dedicated to discovering the path to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Join us on this heartfelt journey as we share inspiring stories, insightful conversations, and practical tips to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
Meet Linda Jazzar, a global citizen with roots in Lebanon and a life journey that has taken her across 6 vibrant cities: Beirut, Paris, Berlin, Bristol, Singapore, and now Kenya. After a decade in the fast-paced tech industry, where she wore many hats from country manager to product manager, Linda felt a deep calling for something more fulfilling. This sparked a pivotal shift from the corporate world to the people-centered path of coaching. Today, Linda weaves her experiences in art, yoga, dancing, and personal growth into her coaching practices, guiding others on their journey towards clarity, confidence, and growth. Certified in co-active coaching, leadership circle profile, and horse-guided empowerment, she's passionate about creating space where people can connect deeply with themselves and feel empowered to live an authentic and bold life. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to have you here today, and I'd just like to tell the viewers that I met you. My little story behind how I met you is at one of my dear friends' horse stable, where she organized a horse coaching session for the 3 of us, me, her, and another friend of ours, and it was very empowering for me. I had a very emotional experience and a very healing experience, and I just had to get you on the podcast because I think that it's so important for you to share this amazing gift that you have with many, many more people. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that session. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. I really, I learned a lot that day, especially because I've always had a fear of being very close to a horse, and we spoke about this that day also, and I fell off a horse when I was younger. So it really helped to connect deeply with them again. So what is a horse-guided empowerment? What is horse-guided empowerment?
Yeah, so it's a coaching modality like many others, but it involves actually horses. So we run a coaching session in a paddock with the horses at liberty, with a herd of horses at liberty, not just one. And it's actually a modality that really harnesses the powerful energy of the horses, their sensitivity. They're highly sensitive beings, and I would like to call them also wise. So it's kind of using these qualities in a coaching session to enhance a bit the coaching experience of a client.
And why would you call them wise?
I just feel like they live so much in the present. And they're so very good at self-regulating their emotions, and they're like, yeah, usually horses, their innate nature is very kind, very curious, compassionate. So I think this qualifies. And it's a bit spiritual also when you think about it.
Yeah.
For me, they getting into this space opened a bit my eyes a bit more on spirituality. And yeah.
Wow. So why horses though?
Yeah, so first, there are magnificent animals there. Like when you you stand next to a horse, it's there. They make you feel something usually because they're big, they're very powerful, they're very strong, they're very elegant for some people, beautiful. You can find many adjectives to describe them. And also they're usually prey animals, so they are always alert. They're very sensitive because they're not aggressor. They're usually like checking always their surroundings. So they're very sensitive, and their heart is 5 times bigger than a human heart, which make their magnetic field, because we know like a heartbeat generates like electromagnetic or like electricity.
Yeah.
And we also have that. So our magnetic field, let's say, it's few feet around us. And horses, it's like even much bigger, 5 times bigger. So when you are in their space, you also get their energy, which is coherent, we say. Coherent means their heart variability. It's very coherent. It's what we want to have most of our days. You know, when you're meditating, where you're at peace, this is how our heart is. But when you're stressed, when you are anxious, when you're like running around, your heart variability is not that coherent. It's incoherent. So being with a horse, even if you don't talk, you don't do much, you get that. So it's healing in that sense as well. It gives you this peace of mind.
And it's always so at where my studio is. You've been to that space, and it's interesting because there are these 3 horses that come there to graze. And they usually come towards the end of the class, and the minute they come, they run towards the studio, and you just feel the energy shifts. Everyone just looks out, and then they all like literally are like in awe with the place. And even just I feel like the energy of the studio is just the way it is because of having those horses around there. And their energy is so, and they are such beautiful animals with that such magnitude, and you can see that magnetic energy. Now, I didn't know about this energy field of theirs being much bigger than ours, but now it makes sense because you feel it, you know, when you're in contact, even if you're not right next to them, you still feel that same energy sense from them. Do you think they have a 6th sense?
I don't know, but there is something that we are not able to explain yet, maybe. And yeah, we can say that they're intuitive, they're telepathic. For example, if you notice, if a horse is suddenly scared, everyone feels it in the herd. They don't need to see the horse. So there is something traveling, like a telepathic message. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, it can. There is still a lot of unknowns, but I experienced it in my sessions.
Yeah, I read a book once about this lady who had a journey through cancer. I think it's called Cancer, My Teacher. I have it upstairs, and there was a chapter in there where she was like stage 4 cancer, and she was in a horse stable. So she went and she sat there, and she was really upset, and sat there, and the horses came and surrounded her. They made a circle around her, and they all like kind of like gave her this magnetic energy, and she doesn't know what happened that day, but from that day onwards she went into remission. So it's, I mean, I know that like when I heard that story and when I read that story and when I read that book, and then when I did this session with you at my friend's place, I felt that, you know, I felt that healing, emotional, and that day I remember you even telling me that the horse, you have to allow the horse to come to you. You can't force yourself to go to the horse. And then you made me put my hand on the horse's heart, and I just started crying. And all these emotions of everything that I'd been through came out, and the horse just stood there, which was so bizarre. Like he didn't even like flinch or want to leave or anything. He kind of like, he held space for me, almost to say, which was so incredible. And no, they are such incredible animals.
Also, when you mention how the horses were around this lady, it's a typical behavior when they feel somebody needs protection. They feel it, and this is how they do it also among themselves. They go around, so when they think this person or they feel this person is going through a lot, or there is trauma, there are usually you see them going, and I see it in my sessions as well, when something comes up or this person is also not able to share because maybe it's still the beginning of the session, they don't know and I can see the horses trying to protect that person.
Really? Yeah. Amazing. I mean,
or heal them.
Yeah, you must be witnessing such amazing things happening in your sessions.
Yeah.
Give me an example of something from your healing session that was like really breathtaking for you.
I think every session is so different and brings something. Like I never know how the session will unfold, because every time a client comes, they come with an intention, with a topic in mind, and then we uncover that, and then it takes us, right? You dance with them in the moment, as we say in coaching. One specific, I think what always amazed me is when some sessions turn into constellation naturally. So we start talking about the topic, and then like I'm trying just maybe a session I had recently. And then the person talks about her partner and the sister of the partner being so close to each other and she doesn't have the space to speak up, etc. And then suddenly we start seeing like naturally she starts giving like assigning roles to the horses, like, oh, this reminds me of my partner, this reminds me of the sister. And then suddenly the horses, it's kind of they take on that role.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm the partner and the sister, and then they go together. And she's like, exactly, they avoid me, and she also assigned herself to another horse. So it was very interesting to see, just to observe the dynamic. And she's like, exactly, they avoid blah blah, and like,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, let's take it from there. What do you want to tell your partner, for example? And then I take the client, and she got emotional because she was like, wow, now it's happening. So it's kind of role playing, but with a horse. And then and suddenly the two horses, so there was the sister and the partner, right? And suddenly the horses started fighting out of nowhere, like not harsh fighting, but they just rose in the air and did like what they usually do, and then went down like back on their feet. And I was like, okay, what were you thinking just now? Because she didn't start saying anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I was just thinking of a fight they had yesterday. Like I overheard them having a fight. And so it was kind of very strange. Like I was like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's very interesting. And then we used that, and then she spoke up, said what she thinks. Then they separated. Then we continued the coaching based on that. And then she took that learning to her real life situation. And in that evening, she wrote me like, the session has helped me actually really get clarity on what I want to say, and feel empowered to say it. And I did, and it went really well. And so
That's really amazing.
yeah, so that's like
And it must be so rewarding to feel that.
yeah, for me.
Yeah, for you also, right?
It is. It's like,
Yeah. So tell me what happens in a typical coaching session.
Yeah, so in a session, usually we start with a grounding exercise, because we're coming from our fast pace. Everyone, like, yeah, maybe for me, I'm coming just from another session, for the client from her work, or anything. So yeah, a short grounding session. So we welcome the herd, but also we allow the herd to welcome us, because we are in their space. It's kind of a respectful way to start, saying, hey, we're here in your space, and thank you for allowing us to be here. So yeah, just grounding meditation. Then we see what's alive in the client, like what is the topic. Sometimes they come with a topic, but during the grounding exercise they change the topic because they realize there's something else more important. So that also gives that clarity. And then we define goals and what do we want out of the sessions. And when we define that, I invite usually my client to go and greet the herd. I think you also have experienced that. So to say hello to all the members. So I work with different sizes of herds. The minimum would be 3, the maximum 10. And they come back, and we start the coaching from there.
Okay.
And then I guide activities based on what came up. So it can be an activity of leading the horse, or like sitting in a space, like creating a space, like personal space, and assigning roles to each horse, or just a value, or something you want more in your life, or whatever. I really cannot define like it's not not one session is like the other. So we use a lot. I use a lot the intuition. Like, okay, I feel now we could do that and that. So there are some activities that are good for certain topics, etc. Yeah.
And how many hours are the sessions?
So one-on-one session is usually 1 hour. Sometimes it can go to 1.5, but we usually in 45 minutes to 1.5 you have really uncovered a lot. But yeah, usually it's 1 hour, I would say, on average.
And when you have these sessions, do you have them like, do you have your own horses, or do you have like, what kind of horses come for this kind of session? Like, how do you organize it?
So I work with so your friend's horses. I recently, like not recently, but I've been working with them a lot. So Usually, I don't work with horses that are in stables, like horse schools, horse riding schools.
Why is that?
They are usually, unfortunately, kept in not healthy condition. You see that they are not happy. You see that, and this is also.
And you see that in them. You see it when you go and see those horses. You can see they're unhappy.
Yeah, you can see their facial expression, their eyes. When you see the white in their eyes, you see there's fear when there's tension. Their mouth, when it's like clenching, it's not. They're not. They are stressed. So you really need. You cannot work with just any horse, unfortunately. This being said, those sessions help horses get better because they feel listened to. But I really make sure the horses are well, like social, because they're social beings. They need to be in a herd. So in stables, they're usually kept in isolation.
Yeah, exactly.
For a very long-term time. So so when they put them outside, they become aggressive towards each other. They're not used to. It's kind of humans, like when you put a human being alone in isolation, or
yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's very difficult to integrate them. So horses need to have a condition for being like healthy, happy. So usually they are able to roam around in the day without, like, in the sunlight, have space, be around other horses, eat well, exercise well, and in riding schools they are really on a schedule, and they're overworked. So I cannot
use the horses from a riding school.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the story about my daughter? What happened to her?
I'm not sure.
About her falling off her horse in the riding school? No. It was really scary. So it happened in July, beginning of mid-July, just before we traveled to Europe for our holidays. And she started watching these, like, cartoons on horses and whatever. And she's like, I want to start riding. I want to go horse riding. So like, okay, cool. So every Sunday we started going to the stables and took her horse riding. And it was her thing. So she kept forcing us, like, every Sunday, let's go. So now this was she'd done it like 3 or 4 sessions, and then her brothers were joining her and they were doing it too. This was, I think, the 4th session or the 3rd session. I can't remember. But it was the Sunday before we traveled, and we traveled on Friday. I said to my husband, I said, look, I have a lot to do because we're traveling, so I'm not going to come. You just go with her and the boys to the stables and take them horse riding. I think 20 minutes later, I get a call and I see my husband's calling me, and I just knew when I saw that call that something has gone wrong. I just knew immediately, like, that was just my intuition. And he goes, Navika fell off a horse. My daughter's name is Navika. I was like, Navika fell off a horse and I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know if she's okay, whatever. She's screaming and she's whatever. I put her in the car. I'm coming home. Call your doctor. So I called him and he was not around. Unfortunately, he was traveling on holiday. And then I didn't know what to do. So I spoke to him and he was like, he was so lovely enough to still call me back even though he was on holiday. He's like, does she have any bruising? Is she, can she move her arms? Is she mobile? Whatever. And everything's at the end of the day was fine and she was okay. And luckily I managed to get her. Janet was coming the next day, who's a body talk practitioner. So Janet did some body tapping on her, and then Sagar, who also is a pranic healer, he did some pranic healing on her. So I'm so grateful that I have this little yellow pages of support network of people who can help me with these kind of situations. Because again, it was almost like me reliving my trauma of falling off a horse at such a young age, and I didn't have anyone to help me deal with that situation. So Janet kind of tapped out the fear of, so that she can go back on a horse with no problem. But what happened that day, which was, is that she rides the same horse, and he stopped, and they had given her the reins and told her, you hold, and the guide was a bit far away. And he stopped and he did a poo, and then after that, the guy said to her, just kick him a little bit so he can start moving. She kicked him and he startled and he flipped, and he just started going mad. He just started jumping like up and down. She flew over his head with the reins in her hand. Wow. And she fell on her back and she fell on her head, and she was still holding the reins while he was still jumping. Thankfully, he didn't stamp on her or trample her. And then she kept saying to me, what she said to me when she came home? She was like in shock. Like she just wouldn't, she was crying. She was not even in pain, but she was just crying out of the shock of it all. And she almost felt betrayed by this horse because she had kind of built this trust with him. She told me that God put a protective shield around her. And I said, did you see the shield? She goes, no, but I know it was there. And she said the same thing to Janet the next day too, which was amazing.
It's a tool that she's just very, like, we learn all these tools and then she seems at a very young age to use a tool to her.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And she's not gone back on a horse since then. She does want to, but I think it's me and my husband who are both like, no, not yet. Maybe we'll get you your own horse.
Is it a horse that's in a stable?
Yes, exactly. And so when you're telling me about this, and I feel it, now I can tell why. Maybe it happened because the poor horse was, and I said to her, it's not the horse's fault. The horse was under some sort of distress that made him do that. He probably feels sorry that he did that to you too. Yeah.
Yeah, and also we don't know what she was thinking at that moment when she maybe kicked. Maybe she was feeling fear and the horse felt the fear. So they're like, oh, there's fear, I need to be afraid. It could also be that they felt what the rider is feeling.
Yeah.
Because it happens also. So I wouldn't blame it on the horse.
Yeah, I know. I straight away. I even told her, I said, we should.
Your daughter as well.
No, it could have been really bad. So I'm very grateful and thankful that she's well. And I actually even told her we should go and just say hello to the horse. You don't have to sit on him, but just go and say hello to him and tell him thank you for protecting me and thank you for, he still looked out for you. Like, he didn't stamp on you or anything. So
that's sweet. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
And also, this reminds me of something. In my sessions, usually we don't ride the horse, so we do everything on the ground. It's a very equal relationship where it's like it's a respectful way of being with a horse. Like, I always had this love and hate relationship with riding a horse, and I was always like intrigued by horses. And I'm glad I found a way to be with them without needing to, ride them. I'm not saying riding is bad, but it can also be aggressive, like depending on the way you ride a horse. So there's also a very beautiful and gentle way to ride a horse, which I'm yet to learn. I'm not riding horses, but yeah, I would be more open to that than the traditional way of riding a horse, because the traditional way has been a lot about you need to crush their soul and show who's the boss, and it's a very aggressive and very domineering way of being.
Yeah.
And I think now there are a lot of new ways of being with horses where you can be partners, and he would love to take you on a ride.
And I think I'm like you. Personally, I don't want to sit on a horse again. I'm not because I'm scared or anything, but I don't want to give them that feeling of I'm dominating you or whatever. I prefer doing what you're saying. Is that day what we did was walking around with them, seeing them eye to eye, giving them that respect that they deserve. Yeah. So I agree with you. Do you think the horses enjoy doing this work?
I do believe that it's because horses are naturally wild, right? They can, like the zebras, they are from the same family, and they are just there to roam around days and nights, and now we keep them in those spaces, and it can get boring. So I think having a session for them is also interesting, like, oh, what's happening? Like, it's kind of stimulate their brain a bit.
Yeah.
So that's one. I think and I think they enjoy it because we are not forcing them to participate. We want them to volunteer, to want to participate. And we always run this session in a space big enough where the horse can just retreat and relax if he's not interested in this client, or just he's not feeling.
Yeah.
And we always have horses, one or two or all of them participating. So it's really like up to them. I'm not forcing. Most of the time we're not forcing as much as possible. And sometimes when I want the client to maybe work on leadership and assertiveness, then I want him to maybe involve all the horses, and then he needs to. But it's always respectful. We don't use like batons or sticks or anything.
Yeah.
It's all done with the energy. So it's a great way to see like there are many ways of leading that just can be empathetic and gentle and assertive. So yeah, I think it's a give and take relationship, because they get also they feel understood and heard. The horses, when you did, actually what we did, it's called energy hug. It's like a beautiful practice that I invite people who have horses to do it. It's basically placing the hand around the neck, like one hand on one side and the other on the other side, the neck where it touches the shoulder, and have heart to heart, like opposite each other, and just feel the horse. And we call it feel listen, like listen and feel at the same time to the answers. And this is a way also, that's why the horse didn't budge, because he could have. We were not really forcing him, we were
No.
just there. So he could have if he was not enjoying it. And then we would interpret into that, like maybe what you're feeling is very heavy. And then we dig into that.
So interesting. You know, when you're talking about the horse, I was thinking, what about like, because, you know, in the Hindu scriptures and in our Indian belief system, cows are very sacred animals. So we believe that cows are very, you know, we respect them. You know, we don't eat, we don't eat beef. I have my own cows in Kisumu and my mom's place, and she looks after them. And we actually have like sacred days where we go and pray to them and all of that. Do cows have like a very similar story, do you think, behind, like you know?
Yeah, it's a great question, because when you think, oh, if horses have that, also probably all animals, I think all animals have a healing capability. Like when you pet a dog, you can feel it, they feel you. It's just, I think the size of the heart makes a big difference. And the fact that there are prey animals needed to be, they need to be alert all the time makes horses very special. I would love to try a session with cows. I don't know, I think definitely there are benefits in working with them and being with them, but I don't know if there have been studies, or I'm not aware. So I would love to.
I have seen it in the US and stuff, where they have these farms where you can go and do cow hugging therapy, where you go and the cow just sits there and you go and pet it and caress it and hug it, and then you can do sound healing. So, you know, and apparently I think even it works with the horses too, where they're also very attracted and sensitive to the sound. So if you have your sound healing, your singing bowls, and we've spoken about doing something like this with the horses and my gong, which would be amazing, because I think that at the end of the day, they would also need that healing. In order for them to give us the healing, it's important for us to give them the healing back too, right?
Yeah, it's a give and take.
Yeah.
We are in this together, we are one.
Exactly. And then also, obviously, like with my daughter, the experience that we had with her and everything, I mean, is it safe? I'm sure people would wonder, is it safe to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's generally safe. Of course, there are animals, they are wild still, even if they are domesticated. They can, as you experience it with your daughter, falling. But in my session, we make sure that, I make sure at least, that my clients are in a safe space. So we follow a protocol. It's not just like this. We are also very attentive to body language. Horses communicate through body language with each other, and they read our body language. So it's a lot about always being also alert. That's why we also, in a session, the client is invited to stay also present and not think about tomorrow, and really be in the session so there is no issue. It's usually, as I said, I don't work with just any horse. If there are traumatized horses that are having biting behavior or something, I wouldn't
work with those. Yeah.
Though I think maybe slowly integrating them, because they change. I believe any animal can change with the right setting, with a healthy setting, with good socializing. And actually, traumatized horses have a great impact in a session. For example, I noticed directly a horse that has maybe is a rescue, that has gone through a lot and still is very gentle, usually connects really well with a client who comes with a very strong emotional trauma or something.
This podcast was created to inspire and connect with people. If you are liking the content of this podcast, hit the subscribe button, like, follow, and share this platform. Lots of love. Linda, who would you say this coaching method is for?
Okay, in general, coaching, I say, is for everyone who is open to growth, change, who wants to gain more self-awareness and achieve change in their life and transformation and growth, all of the above. And I would say the horses in particular is very interesting for people who are keen to connect more with nature and animals. I think that was also what drew me to this coaching modality, because I wanted to harness also the beauty of our nature and animals and connect with them in a better way. And it's also for people maybe who have experienced something very heavy, or they are going through a very big life transition, or a very big emotional event, and they need to process it in a loving and safe place with the extra help of a horse. We can all do that in a normal coaching coactive session, which is also about somatic body work, etc., and processing emotion. But being with horses can enhance that experience, make it even softer and bring more clarity and go deeper. Yeah. So, yeah, for these people. And also I do this coaching with teams in corporate world. So it's about bringing the team together to do tasks together with the horses. It's very experiential. It's action learning. So you learn by doing, and it's very fun. It's very it's a very unique way of doing team training and team building with the horses. So I would also recommend it a lot in the corporate world, where you bring more nature and humanity in the corporate world.
So it could actually become a team building spirit kind of activity that you can do for a corporate client.
I'm doing that already. So
amazing.
I've worked, so this is open to teams who are open to that really unconventional way of training their teams, and it brings a lot of bonding and team cohesion, and a lot come up also in a session, like in a one-on-one session. A lot come up in a team session. It's a lot about the team, how they're working together, and how they can improve communication and collaboration, which comes up very clearly.
This is the thing. These are the things that are so important. Is if you want your business to grow, you want to see your staff thrive through their work and all of this stuff. This is the type of coaching they need. Essentially, they don't need any other type. This is actually the fundamental to help anyone really find balance and harmony back into their lives, I would say.
Exactly, and it's taking them out of the room, out of their screen, into a very completely different setting, and doing something meaningful and connecting with nature and doing things together with the horses. Yeah. So it's a very powerful tool.
What would be interesting is if you were would you collaborate, maybe maybe do more, maybe have somebody who does the breath work also part of the whole thing. It could become a team building thing, or sound healing, right? Such a cool thing.
It's a very flexible, versatile. I mean, the healing space and the coaching space is very creative. That's the beauty of it, and we learn always about others, and I love collaborating, and it enriches the experience. So it also depends if a company comes to me with they want mindfulness, then maybe we do yoga and some meditation, and then maybe sound we can always craft it to fit, and the horses, it's not this is it. It's very versatile and it's very flexible.
Yeah.
As long as we have the basic framework and framework.
Yeah. And how has the change for you been from being in the tech industry and now becoming a horse healing coach? What has changed in your life through this?
Yeah, I think in general the transition from a fast-paced and a 9-to-5 and tech world, where still we were looking at users, it was very user-centric, what do user want, etc. But bringing it to a deeper, more people-centric, heart-centric approach was very, I think, for me, transformational personally. Because of many things. I think to become a coach, I have to go through it. I still get coached, and it's a never-ending learning and growth.
So you still get coached also?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's you get inspired by your clients as well. You get challenged by your clients. You want to always be the best you can be, and you keep learning, right? And I think coaching has really helped me also in my communication style, and more active listening, more empathy, more caring, it's to slow down a bit and to go to the core, values. And
no, that's so nice to have that transformation. Is there something that you think that we have not discussed today that is like really, really important and a very pressing matter?
When you said it, I just thought about my country, Lebanon. But
Oh, no, you can talk about it. I know that your country is going through a lot. And I know that even just us making this session happen today was quite emotional for you because you've had a lot on your plate with your parents and with your family going through all of this and everything. So
maybe just acknowledging that there are some places that, not going through a good time and it's hard, and hoping that things, like this insanity stops.
yeah.
And before coming here, I sat with the horses a bit just to feel like a bit grounded, because the last days have been tough.
Well, I'm really happy that you're here. Is there anything you wanted to ask me?
I wanted to ask you about your actually. Did you mention you have horses?
No, I don't. I have cows.
Maybe you can try with the cows, the energy hug and so.
Yeah, I think what would be really interesting is I think maybe one day we can go to Kisumu. I can take you to Kisumu, and then maybe you can.
We can try this.
We can try, right? I'm actually really allergic to hay, like severely allergic to hay. So I had to take my cows away from me, and they're in Kisumu at my mom's place. So I go and visit them, but if I go near the hay, I mean, it's a nightmare. It's quite bad. So that's my downside to this is like if I'm like in an open space with the cows or with the animals, with the horses, or I'm fine. But the minute there is hay around, it can cause a lot of havoc in my body. I just generally stay clear of any kind of medication anyways. I don't take medications, but I have like these alternatives, things that I do take, these herbal medications that I do take that do protect me. But I still think it's not enough. Like the kind of allergy I have, I break into hives and my throat starts closing up. So it's EpiPen kind of emergency kind of situation, which is quite scary. Where can people find you?
I'm online, like many of us. So I'm on Instagram as Linda Jazzar. I have a website, so lindajazarcoaching.com.
Okay.
lindajazarcoaching.com. And I guess that's maybe enough.
Yeah, and I will add that all to the show notes anyway, so people will be able to reach out to you and message you.
They can directly book a call with me, 45 minutes where we can get to know each other. Usually it's called like chemistry session, obligation free, and just to see if coaching is for them and if I could be the right fit for them. So.
No, definitely. And I loved our session that day. In fact, I think I need to do another one. I would love to do another one. I really want my husband to try it because I think he would really benefit from it also. So maybe let's see, maybe one of these days we'll book one with you for both of us.
Welcome.
We'll do like a couples one with the six of us, the three women, or like, and then the husbands from last time too. But before we end, I wanted you to, here are my angel cards again. This is a different deck. And I wanted you to pick one up. You can either pick with your right or left, whichever intuitively feels guided.
So you will read it for me, or
you'll read it and you will.
Let's see.
Yeah.
The Shekinah, sacred self.
Oh wow! And what does he say at the bottom?
Unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. Oh, I love it.
And it's so you. It's so apt for you, right? I mean, she even looks like you on that on that card. I'm gonna pick one too.
Wow, nice.
Bridget, inner strength. Move back to wholeness. Recognize that you have the power. It's so bizarre. I keep getting cards like these all the time. Reminding you that the power is within me, that the magic lies within me. And she has a little fire going, which is beautiful. So, I mean, after we end, you can actually have a look at the full meaning and you can journal about it.
Yeah, I will.
Because I feel like these cards are literally my go-to guidance through life.
And do you usually ask a question before, or just like
if there is a question that I need to an answer to, or if there's something that's like troubling me, then I do. I kind of go there with that emotion more than the question. I go there with that feeling, that emotion, and then from there I feel like whatever it is will always come to surface. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you for having me.
This was really helpful. And I'm looking forward to doing another horse healing session with you.